Psalm 127:3. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. This suggests children are a precious gift from God to be valued and cared for.
In the United States, a child a minute is taken into DHS, CPS, so on custody. The reality is their pics are already selected, you just don't know it. Being perfect no longer matters. It's what the adopting families are looking for.
Who is it stealing the children, you ask?
From caseworker to the White House, the buck stops at all levels, just not where it is supposed to be. The services your family needs, we the people have paid for to ensure your reunification. Title 4 says, reunify at all costs. United, we stand means nothing to us when it comes to family values. Children are being ripped away from their families. Parents are reverting to addictive behaviors to cover the pain. The trauma caused by child removal is just being recognized, and the results are atrocious. Termination of parental rights is not healthy for anyone, just profitable for the people enforcing the law.
It's time Washington listens to the cries of our children, the wails of their mothers, and the rage growing in the fathers. These are our children. Keep your damn hands off them. We are coming to act on the behalf of the children God gave us to protect, and you kidnapped.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title 4 funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPS.com is leading the way. Join us.
All right. Sorry about the late start, guys. This is the CPS Punisher here, live. CPS Victims hunting justice. Again, I apologize about the late start. We just had some things going on in our day, and the things that have gone on in my day, I would like to possibly bring up into our discussion now. where we draw the lines with the privacy in our homes. I know this was not what we were going to talk about originally, but we were having a pretty intense debate on this before the opening of the show. But where is the line drawn for CPS or anybody in that matter in your privacy in your home? Where is the line drawn for them to be able to take pictures of you, video record you, anybody at that matter in your home, in your private persons, reflective of the castle law? I mean, how far are people and the police and any of that willing to take this thing, CPS, to get you in the act of doing nothing in most cases, but maybe in other cases something? I mean, where is the line drawn for our privacy? That all being said, I'm just going to bring out the gang right now while we wait for our guests. We've got Herbert and we got Melissa here. Melissa, Herbert, how we doing, guys?
Okay.
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. So where, what? We'll just continue on while we wait for our guests here. The privacy in your home. What does CPS and what does anybody at that matter? What is the before I even get onto this, please, if you guys are watching this and you haven't liked and subscribed yet, please do that. It's very important to get the word spread about our show. So please like and subscribe. And also we have the chat right here. So you are more than welcome to leave us a chat. If you have any sort of questions or any sort of anything, it's empty right now, as you can see, but there is the chat there. If you have questions for us, you want to just say hi. Actually, you know what? If you are here and you're watching and you're capable, hit up in that chat and ask, let us know what state you're from. And we can talk about those things too, the state that you're from. But anyway, sorry about that, guys. So my question is this. How much privacy are you really allotted in your home with CPS, with anybody? Do you lose your privacy to CPS once you sign a safety plan? Where are we with this? And this is a virgin conversation, people. So if you guys have any input on this, please add in there. Kenneth Alt, how are you? He's from Kansas. That's great. I saw you earlier, my man. Kenneth, you've been with us too a couple of times. I've watched you. You know what? If you want to join you want to jump in with us, because we've seen you. You've posted on our board a couple of times. I can send you a link if you want to get in, and we can discuss your case as well. Just let me know, Kenneth, and I can send you the link for the show, and we'll get you in here. Just let me know what an email address, and I can send it to you. But where is the privacy drawn for us in our homes? Where, can CPS just come in and use what's in your home? Can they stand out on the sidewalk? Can they look through where you are at your homes? You know what I mean? Where is the line that needs to be drawn for privacy? Can CPS
now
come
see,
to a road?
I think that you still have the right to privacy, even with dealing with CPS, because you are entering into a voluntary contract. And you have the right to say no. Like, if the new caseworker shows up at my house being how she's treated me, I'm going to tell her to pack it in her ass and get down the road. Because I didn't enter into a contract with her. I entered into a contract with the previous worker, okay, and the previous supervisor. So my contract does not extend to this new worker, because I would have said right from day one that I would absolutely not enter into contract of any sort with her. Now, I do know when I do my home inspections, she asked me when she walks in, Hannah would ask me when she comes in the door, do you mind if I take pictures? And I would look her dead in the face if my house was clean but not pristine. I'd be like, no, you can't take pictures in my house. I'm not allowing it. It's not to my liking. No. And when I do allow pictures, like before court, because you obviously always have your house perfect at that point, I only allow her to take pictures of the bathroom, the kids' room, the kitchen, the living room. What's in my room ain't none of their damn business. What's in my spare bedroom ain't none of their damn business. What's on my back porch, that ain't none of their business. I did not
Right.
extend them that allowance.
Okay, so they can. So CPS then needs permission to photograph everything. Now, what if they're roadside, like we were talking about earlier? Can they stand out in a private road and take pictures into your personal yard to see if, let's say that they try to pull some malarkey?
If they're on a public right of way,
they can take pictures of your yard. So let's say you had your kids outside playing. CPS could sit out on the right of way of a public place and take pictures into your yard. And everybody,
yes.
Andrea, how are you doing? That's I'm gonna look this up, because I mean I'm getting confused here with the right to. I know that they have the castle law. Herbert, what's your say in this stuff? I know you're the policeman.
I say is you guys are focusing on taking pictures, and we're in an age of drones. They could fly.
Well, there is, right.
Your front of your house, your back of your house. They could drone your whole house.
Yeah, I guess that's right. I mean, but to police officers,
but in the same, if that drone is taking pictures of what's behind your privacy fence, that's not admissible in court, because that fence is for the purpose of privacy, and because there is nudists in the world that have really fought the argument that they put up that fence to be able to dress any way they want in their backyard. It is held that the backyard behind privacy fencing is to remain private. And that you may not climb or access from any higher point with the intent to violate the privacy of the fence.
That's correct. And the other thing you said correct was it's not admissible in court. But guess what? They have the pictures.
Right. So
they can't present it in court, but they got the pictures.
Right. So
hey Darren, if you're gonna hang a kid out back by their toes, just make sure you do it behind the privacy fence, so it ain't admissible.
Right.
But you're right. They can't take pictures over the fence. You're right. But they can't. If they do it, they can't bring it into the courtroom. They can't bring it to the attention of the court. But the
same thing goes for the CPS workers. Sure. City officials, inspectors, blight inspectors, anything they go over your fence, whether it by drone or standing on the bed of their truck on public road, is not admissible in court, cannot be used against you, because it is in your private domicile. Right. Anything behind a privacy fence is the same as being shut up in your house. Without a warrant, they cannot access it.
That's right.
So for you to be private, when you do private
anything in plain view in your house is all acceptable in plain view. So you invite them in, you don't want them to go in your bedroom, and you happen to open your bedroom door and they look in, they got the picture. They got these little things that are the size of a freaking button that takes pictures, that do videos. They got it. It's already done. They don't have to have anything in their hand.
Right. Yeah, well, that's the thing. So I don't understand why your boundaries aren't. And Kenneth, I'm looking here for your email, bud. I don't have it. It's abolishcps.com@gmail.com. That's the email address. So you got to have a privacy fence up there to make sure that you can be private. So your boundaries of your yard won't allow that. The boundaries don't matter. You got to have a fence, is what you guys are saying.
Well, a lot of times, yes, but there is certain states, and you'll have to check with your independent state. In the state of Michigan, anything behind the halfway point of the front of the house is considered private property. And unless it's on a major roadway to where, like if you had a bunch of garbage and it's on your major road, they could cite you for the garbage. But that is still considered to be the privacy of your backyard.
Right. Well, here's another thing. You just brought this up, Melissa. I do know that CPS is known to go through people's trash. So where does that legality go to? Because people throw things out. CPS is rummaging through people's trash. Where's the line for that? I know that all of us have
Well,
heard of
now
that.
I know that there's a lot of Supreme case law that says that anything that you discard into a public right of way is accessible by anyone who wants to access it. Now, see, when you put your trash can out at the road, because if you're on a private side street, 15 foot from the center of the road is public right of way. So if your trash can is in the public right of way, the public has the right to dig through it unless you have in the state of Michigan, they have trash picking laws that if you don't have a license to pick through someone's trash, it's illegal. Where in most states, people go trash picking, they pick out the cool shit and go hold a yard sale.
Right. Understood that.
Yeah, but you're saying in Michigan you have to have a license. But the thing is, Herbert doesn't need a license.
No, but if you catch a cop digging in it, I mean, it is a written complaint that you can make, but it would hold very little weight. But for your CPS worker, I would think it would hold a lot of weight because there's no reasonable grounds for the CPS worker to be digging in your trash can.
But if it's put out on a private, it's put out in a public way.
But you're already justified that it's okay. You see, because it's in a public way. It's just that Michigan has a law against it, but CPR can circumvent that law.
Yes.
Hey, Darren.
Yeah.
Put a private property sign on your trash can.
We already have. Listen. So, okay, here's another question. We have private property signs pushed up all through the yard every 50 feet on the trees out in our boundaries. So can people then take pictures of my yard?
Yeah, from the street.
Yes.
Well, no, that's posted private property.
No,
it's posted private, but see, anything that your eyes can view while in a public right of way, you have the right to view. If your garage door is open and you're in the back seat of the car doing something you shouldn't be doing, and the neighbor is standing at the roadway giggling at you, well, it's all fair game because it's viewable from public, without any effort. Now, if you have to half climb up the neighbor's tree to see through your tree line, even though you don't have a fence because you have so many shrubs and whatever growing, well, then that's a different scenario. That could actually fall under some type of voyeurism.
I'm sure it can. But as long as you're not on the person's property, that state's private property, you're good. If you think about those people when they do news stories about famous people about something, you ever notice they never go on the property, and when they do, even the police push them off.
Yeah, Andrea says you can push people off your property with no soliciting signs. So that's what Andrea says. And Carrie, how are you tonight, dear? Nice to see you back. We haven't seen you in a couple of days.
Well, yes, no soliciting means that, they cannot access your property. But if they're standing on the other side of the road, they can still stand there and take pictures of everything. If they're standing in the middle of the road, they can take pictures of everything.
If they're not on your property and they're in the public street, they're fine.
Right. As long as they're in the public right of way, they're all good and you can't stop. Now, what you can argue is stalking, loitering, voyeurism, harassment.
Mm-hmm.
I would go with harassment. I've had calls on harassment. They're constantly taking pictures. They're doing this and that from a public street, but I feel harassed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'd do, Darren? Since they want to sit in their yard and take pictures of your yard, put 2 really big cameras on the front of your house and face it at their front doors.
Right. That's what I said.
The police and say they're being harassed.
It's just
not a good idea.
So, right. It's just the whole point is like what point, like, this is just getting to be too much. Like, these cops, the CPS agents, your neighbors, even, they're like, they have nothing else to do but go through your things, watch what you're doing. Hey, how about this? Pay attention to what you're doing. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. It'd be easier than that. But again, this, like I said, CPS is doing the same thing. They're taking pictures of people from the roads. They're watching, they do gang stalking. They're watching people go shopping.
Well,
So I
no,
understand.
it's even worse than that, Darren, because there's a well-known thing that's being quietly talked about that CPS hunts for certain types of children based on what's on your Facebook. Photos of your children on your Facebook, your Snapchat, your TikTok. Are your kids pretty enough? Will they work?
All right. Yeah.
That social media has opened up the ability to turn the world into a shopping network for CPS. Because if I go to my Facebook and I search Repton, Alabama, and it brings up 30 people around me, okay? Well, which ones are putting up pictures of their families? Okay, well, if I'm a CPS worker, oh, that one's got a cute little blonde hair, blue eyed kid. That one's got 2 boys. Those are good kids. Okay, well, now, because you're limited on what schools you have in that area, that worker goes to the school under a, quote, allegation. Now, the school lets the CPS worker talk to the kid and even remove the kid. Because I know a family, actually, I believe I had told you that there's a family that had a very similar case to mine here. Same thing happened. They found the kids through Facebook. They went to the school. They removed the kids under bogus allegations. The one child got sent to a foster home right outside of Bangor, Maine.
That's just something. And that's an issue in itself too, is the CPS in the schools. Like, that was like the last safe spot that you had. I mean, I was just talking with someone the other day. You wouldn't have been able to get away with this stuff 20 years ago. Like, you couldn't when I was a child, unless my parents picked me up from school. That was the only way that I was going to be dismissed from school. You couldn't just go home on anybody else's bus. You were very well maintained, and you were taught as a child that the only person, you don't talk to strangers. The only person you talk to is your parents or your family or something like that. That was just it. But nowadays, since all of this has gone way too far, we've had the introduction of family removal through Disney movies. We do all of these things. It's gone way past the trust factor, and now it's in our schools. But guys, we got Kenneth all here finally. Kenneth's watched us a bunch of times. I watched him earlier on the Wicked Warriors show, which is awesome. You guys should check them out. I don't know what their pattern is necessarily, but you should definitely check out their YouTube channel, because they have great stuff. They have great, they just do great stuff. They do all kinds of interviews like we do. I might put them on my abolishcps.com site, because, like, we're all working together here trying to solve this thing. But Kenneth, how are we doing tonight, bud?
Good. Give me 1 minute.
Sure. Yeah, so Kenneth has quite a story. I'll let him get into it, because I was in and out earlier while I was planning for this show. But Kenneth's Kenneth.
Darren, why waiting for?
I was trying to use my.
Yeah.
Why waiting for Kenneth? Carrie has some questions.
All right, what do we got, Carrie?
Look at Carrie's comments.
Let's see. In the cops are knowing. Let's see. Carrie's, I see comments. I don't see questions. Do I?
Well, not questions.
I've put
some comments.
Yeah. We've slid those by here. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's see right here, Herbert. We put these right here at the bottom. We slide these babies right by. And then I put them up there. Was there one in particular you were looking at there, bud, that you liked?
Something about the fine print of those cops have
access
without even knowing. I'm trying to figure out what she's saying.
Yeah, let me pull that one up here. Inside pushing through. I resent. We can push it. Oh yes, and in the fine print. Yeah, and in the fine print of those cops can't have access without you even knowing. I'm pretty positive we were talking about going through the trash at that part. I believe, Carrie, right?
Yeah.
It's just the whole thing is, and there we go, Herbert. This one's to you. Thanks, Herbert. Nice to be noticed.
Yeah,
From
because
Carrie.
you guys
Well-
see what Carrie was saying. You didn't see
Well,
Carrie's
and
comment.
honestly, I think a lot of that falls to what Charles was talking about last night, where we have moved away from the family farming households into these subdivisions to where they have pretty much stolen most of our rights and worked on dividing the families, breaking up marriages, more families are in unwed homes, more kids in the system, that, it's kind of like the plan that they have for us is to divide us all into single household systems so that the government has an easier ability. It's much easier to beat one person when you're one entity than it is to beat two.
And this is what they did to you, Kenneth, right? Didn't they separate you and your wife?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. You want to go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about your story, brother?
Well, my story is out of northwestern Kansas. I'm dealing with St. Francis Ministries. I'm not sure if anyone's aware of them.
We'll learn
But
about
in
it.
my case, I am a stepfather, and I was involved in the child's life from when she was 3 months old to when they took her at 18 months old. And I was granted visitation until she was 22 months old. And the original caseworker told my now ex-wife if we were to separate, it would be easier for her to get the child back. And that's not been the case. We've been separately fighting ever since. And June or July of last year, the guardian ad litem appointed to the case said on record if we didn't follow through with divorce, she was going to follow through with recommendations of terminating parental rights.
Just based on you getting divorced.
If we didn't get divorced, she was going to terminate the rights.
But what is the allegations against you that would warrant a divorce?
Somewhere, I don't know what happened, but somewhere in the mix, my wife was convinced to go and file a fabricated complaint of abuse. And she went to a domestic violence shelter, and she was there for 10 months. And all the while, I went from being homeless, jobless, and no car to having 2 jobs, an apartment, a car.
For you.
I went back to school. I got a CNA license in the state of Kansas. And after I did all of that, and I told them, hey, I did everything you wanted except parenting classes, a judge went and put a no contact order on me October 17th of 2022.
So in other words, if you got the parenting classes, you would have been okay.
No.
Well,
no,
it seems
no matter,
like you
no
got.
matter what he would have done, he would have not been okay because he has a much stronger case to fight, even as a step parent, than she does as a parent. Therefore, they want her to divorce him because he is the stable person. So nothing he can do will ever be right because they want to break that stability. Only through breaking his stability can they win. That's how they play their game.
Mm-hmm. And he was working his ass off to get all this stuff done. Like he said, he jumped through. I mean, think about, he went from homeless, no job, all of this stuff. He gets a place to live. He's got job, 2 jobs. He's got, he's going to college to better himself, and he gets slapped with a restraining order based on what? Who? Because you know why? They want to make sure that you couldn't put yourself back into that position and be the lead person for that family, obviously. But what was the restraining order based on?
They never said. It was just in the court transcripts. The judge just placed it there, and he said that I was to have no contact with the minor. There was no reason for it. He just did it. I don't know what his thoughts are. I don't know what his thought process is.
Wow. Now,
Did you
you
ever
obviously
file
can't
an
talk to.
opposition to that?
I'm still trying to figure all of this out. I've been fighting. I've been, reaching out to advocates and stuff, and I'm learning stuff, but I don't know. I really don't know what to do now. I was recently told, back in February, I obtained some parent allies, because Kansas has this thing called the Parent Ally Act. And I obtained parent allies, and they came with me to court, and the guardian ad litem in question stated that they needed to be removed from the hearing because I was not classified as a parent.
Okay.
But the Kansas statute, there's a statute, it's KSA 38-141, that describes a parent being natural, adopted, step, foster, guardian, or conservator. So I was going off of the basis of that, and I had a parent ally, and the guardian ad litem said, no, he's not a parent. He can't have these people here. So I'm working with some other people now to figure out what I need to do next.
Well, I mean, you're kind of in the same position that most grandparents would be in, where you're the outsider looking in, even though you're the better placement. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to file a petition to intervene, a petition to assert your rights under that statute. And it's not a hard thing to do, but it's very frustrating because the judge is going to tell you to take a long walk off of a short pier. You're then going to have to file your motion for reconsideration, and then you're going to have to take it up to the appellate court and have them make your judge behave, because that is what you have to do next. And then at that point, you start petitioning for custody to be the primary parent until she can get her shit straight. And the reason she filed, because I heard you say she was in a abuse shelter. The reason she filed a, quote, report of abuse is those kind of shelters require it. To give you a bed, you have to prove you have an emergency situation. Therefore, they tell you that you got to say that someone's done at least XYZ to qualify. So you're not in an impossible situation. You're just lightly caught between a rock and a hard place.
Just a drip away. What do you now? I don't know if you can't probably say this on the air, so I can't. I don't want to ask you that question either. What before all of this happened? What was your ex-wife's feelings about all of this? Will you guys have a solid relationship? Was everything on the up and up and the hunky dory, or did CPS? This was all a forced CPS issue.
No, our relationship wasn't like, hunky dory. We were having our ups and downs like every marriage does. But I think the straw that broke the camel's back is I caught her communicating with a registered sex offender, and I, quote, lost my shit.
Yeah, I would too. First of all, who is in a relationship with a registered, well, depending on what the person's registered sex offender status is for, because he might have just peed outside, right? Or, we don't know what that is, because there are a lot of sex offenders out there.
The difference is, was he a registered sex offender or was he a pedophile? Because there is a actual medical difference between a registered offender and a pedophile.
Well,
Right.
he raped a 15-year-old. So
All right. That's a pedophile.
Yeah, cut his
So,
balls off and bury him out
yeah,
back, and
send
that's
him
what he
away.
deserves.
Right. Perfect. And what type of person gets in a relationship with someone that rapes a 15-year-old?
and
So
he was
Kenneth,
That's
married.
why
they're
that's
definitely in
why
a
they don't
better
want you in the
spot.
house. That's why they don't
Right.
want you in the house.
Well, clearly. Wow. So where does that stand? Okay, so that being said, how does this, because you have this, what is it, the KSA 1341, or what was it again?
38-141.
141. Okay, now that one allows you, because how would you, are they trying to terminate your right, trying to get access to this child?
They're going back and forth. They said if we didn't get divorced, they were going to terminate her rights. They're telling me I don't have any rights.
Okay. But what you're
But
saying is this,
we were
the,
legally married, so I'm like, I don't see how that's possible.
okay, so,
Oh, it's
but you're
possible.
saying
It's
too,
possible, but they'll take the child. You can stay legally married. CPS takes the child, and you stay together.
well, I mean, that is, but see, this is the thing, Herbert. This is what they push in all of these. They did this to me and my wife. They would say, hey, listen, if you don't stay with Darren, then you can have your baby back. And we all know that that's BS. We all know that's what they do. These are lies that they spread because they want to break the family unit apart. And in most cases, people do this. But listen, we all know the reunification rate is 12%. How many people out there have ended their relationships based off of CPS and they still didn't get their kids back? I agree with what you're saying there, Herbert, about, yeah, you could do this. But what are their allegations? What are the allegations with the child for you guys here, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, the ones that they used in the safety plan that I have is they said it was homelessness and mental
That's not a reason.
instability and relationship issues.
That's none of their business.
I know.
Has your wife ever called about you to the police or anything?
No, what had happened is when I found her text messages to this guy,
Yeah.
I woke her up. I said, hey, leave if you want to, leave the
Right.
kid, get out. And I had to call the cops, and she tried, but she's had past interactions with the cops because we were in a small town. And when they got there, they were like, don't worry about it. It's Casey. We'll deal with it.
Right. Wow.
So,
But none of those things
Darren,
that you even listed. What was it? Hold on. It was homelessness, mental issues, and what?
And relationship
Okay.
problems.
Which ones on there, Melissa, are even remotely a reason for CPS to come into your life?
well, I mean, the argument of homelessness is reason for them to have to assist you in maintaining a home, but the thing is it's all everything's built around reunification. If you're homeless, they're supposed to help get you a home, but none of those are really grounds to kick him out as a step parent. And in the little bit of research that I'm doing right now, it clearly states that during a separation, a step parent can assert as much right as a custodial parent in the divorce and the demand of children. They can petition the courts for custody and everything the same as a natural parent can do. And sometimes a step parent is given more rights than the natural parent because it is in the best interest of the child.
Now, is there? Carrie wants to know: is there a natural biological father on the birth certificate?
There is someone on the birth certificate, but paternity has not been established, and he refuses to cooperate with a paternity test. And he's not been in the picture since she was 2.5 months old.
Okay.
Shit, all
So,
she got to do is file child support, and he'll damn sure cooperate with paternity because he don't want to pay the money.
right. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, do we know for sure, Kenneth? I know this is a hard question. We know that you are not the father, correct?
Well, from the DNA test that they forced me to do, but I don't believe it.
Okay, so this is a situation where you didn't walk into a relationship that she had a child and you're claiming step parent. You're saying that you believe that this child is possibly yours, and now you're moving forward with this and they're terminating your rights, right? Am I correct in that?
That's what I'm walking with, but
Okay, all right.
they're sitting there going, oh well, we had the DNA test done. It wasn't done at a uh, what's the word I'm looking for?
A testing
Yeah,
facility.
medical
Yeah,
facility, right?
it was done at a hospital, and the lady didn't even know what she was doing.
No, don't go back there.
No, I'm not going to.
Hell,
Right. So
they had me do a DNA test with my own kids. Okay, and I'm the mother, so I
yeah,
think
you're
I
the
know where they came from. But
right.
they had me do the DNA test, and we did it in the courthouse, right in front of the judge's bench on the tables, right there at the courthouse.
Oh wow, well, that's crazy. Wow.
So
So
Kenneth, wait a
okay.
minute,
So
Kenneth. I got a question for
kind of
Kenneth.
yeah. Go ahead.
Kenneth says, Kenneth, they said they accused you of being homeless, not your wife. Am I correct? Because when you came on first, you said you were homeless. Did that mean you and her were homeless, or just you?
At the time, we were not homeless, but in the state of Kansas, they said if your name isn't on the lease of a place, you're considered homeless.
So your
We were
name
staying
wasn't
with
on the lease. So your name was not on the lease of the place.
yeah, not mine nor hers. We were staying with a friend of mine. His name
Oh,
was on the lease,
oh,
and it was a roof.
okay.
Right.
So you were
Life
staying with
happens to
someone.
people, man.
So you were staying with someone, and that's how they consider you in Kansas as being homeless.
Yeah, if you don't have a lease in your name.
Okay.
Okay.
But when she went to the shelter, we had actually rented a place together, and we were evicted because the landlady didn't want to do any maintenance, so she was just being a slumlord.
Yep.
And then I was homeless by myself because she went to the shelter. She took my vehicle that was in my name, not hers. And, I was that way for 5 months. I was couch surfing, bouncing around, staying with friends until I got my car back and got a job and got an apartment. And then, I got a second job shortly after. And then I decided to go back to school. So, I was smooth. I had everything I needed. I told them
Right.
about it, and that's when they hit me with a no contact order.
Now, do you think that this is against what your wife would have wanted, this restraining order? Because I know that you probably are not able to talk to her because of this restraining order. But was this something that you saw coming, or were you guys discussing working your way back together and figuring out what went on with the conversations and so on? Like, as far as you knew, you guys were to be working together to get back together, or were you guys continuing on with the separation?
No, we were working on getting back together, and the restraining order is not, it doesn't cover my ex wife. It only
Okay.
prevents me from seeing the baby.
Oh, okay.
I can talk to her if I want. I just choose not to. I've chosen to go no contact.
Okay. So that order must have been I don't understand why you're a harm to the child. That makes no sense. Why they're not letting you see your kid. I know what
Because
it happens because they
they're
did that to me,
using
but
that homeless shelter order where
that's what it
she
is, you think?
stated that he's a risk of harm.
Right. So she must have had to have said that there's some sort of an issue, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because to get in the homeless shelter, she said that there was some type of domestic abuse.
Right, because she's in the domestic violence shelter, right?
Yeah.
Wow. That's awful. So where are you at now in your court process, Kenneth? Or when
Um,
was the last time you saw the baby?
The last time I physically saw her, she was 22 months old. It was Easter of 2022.
So you've never spoke to her, right?
I'm not allowed to.
So here's what they're doing to you is they're making you abandon that child.
Yeah, they're alienating me. I figured that out.
Correct. Absolutely. That's what they did. They tried to do the same thing with me. I forced my way. Like one thing that you might want to try to do, well, you can't because you have that. How long's the restraining order been on you?
The judge issued it October 17th of 2022, and it's been there ever since.
Don't they have to be renewed after a year?
I petitioned for it, and he left it in place after a year.
With
Well,
no grounds of.
you need to look up case law that tells you how long they're good for, because they're not just endless.
Right.
Unless it is put in as a permanent. And that word is a big deal on the court document.
Well,
it does not say permanent. It should only be good for 12 months.
Well, see, here's the thing. It was put on me October 17th of 2022, and I didn't have an attorney. They didn't issue me an attorney at the beginning of the case. I had to file for party of interest, and I was going from homeless to I didn't have anything to having to get everything again, and I didn't even know it was put in place until I talked to my now ex-father-in-law, because she's in kinship with my ex-wife's parents. And I asked him, I said, hey, can I see the baby? And he said, no, there's a no contact order. And I go, oh, well, I didn't know about that. And it's not a traditional no contact order where, it's papers are served to me and I go to court and the judge says, hey, there's no contact. He just put it in the transcripts.
Yeah, that's not a no contact order. You must be served. You must have the right to face your accuser. Otherwise, it falls under a due process violation.
And that's what I've discovered as of recently. I'm like, whoa, okay. I'm taking notes of everything that they've done, because it's piling up to a very big, civil rights violation lawsuit.
Oh, absolutely. Because I thought that they had to give you that warrant, then you had 2 weeks, right? Don't they usually have a preliminary, like a 2-week period of time where you get to come in and answer to the
well, yeah. So a no contact order is served by summons, and then you have the right to appear. You have the right to state your case.
Yeah, and when I spoke to the sheriff's office in the county that I was living in and the county that the case is out of, they said they didn't have a no contact order, so they didn't understand.
There's no contact order.
But the way that
I think what you're running into
is doing it, the grandparents is they're told by the judge, hey.
Right. They're just giving verbal direction, but they're not giving actual order.
Yeah, and the guardian ad litem even said that.
Is they're making you abandon the child, like Darren said, because they have no written orders. Because their written orders would be a violation. So you need to start petitioning for visitation and for guardianship, and you need to start making waves, because less than 12% of the kids ever come home, and I guarantee you less than 5% come home by the trial court. They come home through the Court of Appeals and through the Supreme Court.
And the thing that I'm dealing with now is the attorney that I have, he's saying, hey, don't make any waves or you'll lose your party of interest status.
But if you just sit there and twiddle your thumbs with sit there with your thumb up your ass and do absolutely nothing, the judge is going to terminate your party status, and you will have, the second she divorces you, and this is why they're pushing her to do this. The second she divorces you, your party status is nullified.
Oh, no, see, we're already divorced, and I still have my party of interest status.
Okay, so you guys are already divorced.
Yeah, and the judge said he wasn't going to take my party of interest status away.
Because you don't know for sure if you're not yet the father, because you're still looking for paternity.
Yeah, they did a paternity test, and I found out that they have a habit of tampering with stuff, but I can't do one on my own because I can't get near the kid for their bull crap.
Right. Now, what does their paternity test say?
It says that I'm not, but again, I went to an unaccredited facility, and then the samples were sent out of state.
Right. So who knows what they did with those, if it was even real. I agree with you on that one. So, I mean, you got two ways that you're fighting this thing, I guess, really, because obviously you love the child regardless, so you want to stay in her life. But like with them not giving you the definitive paternity, you got to fight this as the stepfather and the father. I mean, that sucks. But then to not have access to any of that to the child, they forced you out. They've alienated you. They've broken your bond. They've pulled these stunts that they pull. Where are you at as far as in the court case with CPS now? Like, what stage are you in?
Well, all it's been for ever since it started is what they call a permanency hearing. And we go in there every 3 or 4 months, and they just keep doing what they've been doing. They're like, oh, well, okay, mom's making a little progress. Her attorney's fighting like hell to keep her rights intact, which I'm kind of grateful for, because I don't want the little girl to be lost in the system. And they just keep pushing it back. They're like, okay, well, we're going to give her another chance. Go do this. Go do this. And at the last hearing, the judge was like, well, if you'll do X, Y, and Z, we'll this in May.
Wow. I don't know. There's a lot going on here, man. You've only had a permanency hearing. That's it.
That's all they've been since January. They've been permanency hearings, and she is in kinship
review hearings.
Yeah, and she's in kinship, so they're like, she's out of home, and we waste hours driving up there because we all don't live in that county anymore. Kinship's never been in that county. They have to drive 3.5 hours one way, and they have to bring her every single time.
Right.
And at the end of the hearing, it's, do X, Y, Z, and we'll reevaluate this in 3 months or 4 months, depending on how the judge is feeling that day.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, review hearings are typically held that long, and there's a similar case here in Alabama where the parent has no rhyme or reason that the kid shouldn't be with them, but they for 5 years now, they've just been doing review hearings to eat up the financial side of it, but they don't terminate the rights because they like making the free money.
Right.
I have a question. Can you do your own tests and make the comparison? This is something that Carrie brought this question up.
To the child.
No, but the mother does. The mother does.
But he's not talking with the mother.
Oh.
They are divorced. They are not in contact. So
and you don't know whether it's your you don't know whether it's your child or it's the other guy's child.
Because the other guy doesn't want to do the DNA test.
The road. Right.
Hey,
and the other guy's not going to be a father anyway.
Exactly. He hasn't been there.
For you. The other guy could actually do a willing transfer of his rights to you.
Oh yeah, there you go. If that is the case, sure.
The thing is,
great idea.
Thing is, he doesn't have any because she got
He's on the birth
sole.
certificate. He has 50% right.
Yeah, but she got sole custody because of domestic violence with him.
It don't matter. He has the paternal rights granted by her birth and being on that legal document. You can go with him down to the records office, and he can argue that he knew he wasn't the father, but that you were, and he can get them to actually change the birth certificate.
Yeah, there you go, man.
That's an avenue I could look into.
Yeah, and anything else, if they don't believe you two, they will then do a test just to find out who's telling the truth.
Right. That's a great idea, Melissa. I mean, you know what? Listen, this seems like one of those situations where you want to be the father. He doesn't want to be the father. Why are we even going to play games with this DNA stuff? You know, like, let's just get this right.
Hey,
Let's
who
just
have
go
they
and get this kid a
assigned for
father.
his attorney, the other father? Have they
Pardon me?
assigned him an attorney?
Yeah, they did from the very beginning.
If I was you, I would reach out to that attorney and reach out to him first, and then reach out to that attorney, and maybe that attorney can help with assisting the altering of the document or something.
Yeah, I reached out to that attorney and he just stonewalled me. He's like, "Nope, can't talk to you."
He can't.
No, he can't.
You got to talk to him.
If you have an attorney, he can't talk directly to you, but he can talk to his own client with you in presence.
Yes. So you need to talk to his client. That's the other guy.
Well, we got to get
two of you can talk to him.
Well, we got to get the other guy to actually show up to court. He's not been to one single hearing.
You don't need him to. No. I'm not saying go to court.
No.
I'm saying go over to the guy's house, knock on his door, say, "Hey, you're the deadbeat. I want to be the father. Can you write me a recommendation letter? Can you tell your attorney to help make the recommendation for me to be the father? Because I love and care for this kid and I want to fight for this kid."
Yep.
Because the deadbeat should be happy to take a back seat to everything, because it sounds like that's about all he wants to do anyways.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be involved.
So go talk to deadbeat and say, "I got a way you don't have to be involved."
I mean, that's the way, because it seems like this paternity thing is really holding you guys back from getting further into where you need to be with the CPS thing. So, I mean, if you could verify this, then, it seems like you guys might be able to move forward, and then you'll be able to come through with the cape on and say, "Look, I've done this stuff. You have no right to keep this kid from me. Paternity comes in my favor. Give me my friggin' kid back."
I'd never thought about that. That's something I need to look into. I got to find the guy. I know what city he lives in, but I don't have an address, but I can find him. I'm sure I can.
I would start with Facebook and then go to Google search, because not hardly anyone stays off of Facebook, and almost everyone could be searched for $1 on Google.
Well, I've got a private investigator that can find him.
Oh, good. So yeah, that's you get that one. Andrea says nowadays men are labeled as fathers by default. It is true, but anybody can be a dad. A real man's a father, right?
Hey,
isn't that the saying?
Kenneth, was you married to your wife when the child was born?
No, but we were married when she was taken.
Well, were you guys dating when the child was born?
We were, yeah.
That doesn't matter. If he would have been married to her the day the kid popped out, he would have been the presumed father of record. And his right to be on the birth certificate would have exceeded the person that she labeled. And the person that she labeled obviously wanted to act like a father at that point, because in order for his name to be on there, he would have had to assign permission for his information to be entered. Even though she gave them the information, they still have to have his signature to enter it to record.
But until we get that DNA, the deadbeat might really be the father.
Might be, but I doubt it.
Or he goes to the courthouse, or we get. I mean, I guess there's three options now. There's the get him to transfer his name off the birth certificate if that's allowed. There's the DNA test, and then there's the whatever the other one was that we were just. I just said it, but I'm sorry, forgot completely what I was thinking there. I was writing this down. So we can do the paternity test again, right? We can do the, like Melissa said, you have the option of trying to have him transfer his name, transfer you to the father spot. What was the third one? I'm sorry, I just completely crapped out there. So that we can resolve this. We have the paternity, the transfer.
Having them recommend him as a best interest placement.
Right. Is it best interest?
Has the grandparents applied for guardianship or custody at this point, being that they've had the kids so long?
Nope, they've just stuck with kinship.
Do they want the kid?
Nope, they said they want to be grandparents, but at the same time, they don't want her to be lost in the system either.
Do you get along with them?
I do, yeah.
Have you thought about talking to them on the side to see if they would help you do a DNA test?
I have, and they want to follow the guidelines that have been given.
What guideline stops them from them getting a DNA test about the
I
child?
was told not to talk to him.
Right,
The
protection
no
order.
contact
Also.
order.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
here's the thing. Wait a minute. You don't have to be in contact to do a DNA. They did the father of my kid one day, and they did the kid a completely different day. So you don't have to have any contact, and you guys don't technically have to tell them, because if you guys do some kind of private test that
Right.
the state
Keyword
knows
is private.
nothing about, if it shows up in your favor, now you know that you need to make the argument without letting them know you have the private test. You need to
Right.
make the argument to demand your right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If they make up, now listen to this. If you make up a facetious name for the child, take the saliva, put it in a cup, send it to
You
Ancestry.
don't even have to do that. They sell a DNA test at CVS. They can buy one, put a name on it, mail it into the company. He buys one, he puts a name on it, he mails it into the company. That's
Same
all
concept.
you gotta do.
The same thing. You don't have to use
But
Ancestry.
you don't have to
That's the same
use
thing.
alias. You don't
So
have to
here's-
use a false
Oh.
information.
Oh, okay. So just do that. Just do that and get the grandparents to get the saliva from the child.
So here's a question, guys. Andrea has for us. I know it was back there. We finally get into it. She goes, "How is it that they can take a newborn from the hospital that had no issues?" Hold on, let me put it up here for you, so you guys see it too. How is it that they can take a newborn from the hospital that had no issues with an open case, and the grandma cannot get custody? She has not seen her grandson since February of 2023, and the granddaughter last May 2023. Now, did they take? Here we got a couple. Let me ask you this. So, Andrea, are they take those from your children, from your daughter or your son, and you haven't seen them either? Is that what's going on here? I'm guessing. Let's see here what she has to say. While we're waiting for that, yeah, Kenneth, I think that's the key to your quest here, is finding out and resolving your paternity issue. Now, when he resolves that, should that make that do you think that will make that the restraining order go away?
No, he'll have to go to the Court of Appeals to get that restraining order to go away. He's going to have to use his party status, because if the judge turns around and revokes his party status, he would have to have just cause. He can't just do it because you're pissed off at him that day of the week. He would
Right.
have to have reasonable cause to prove that him being party and that status creates a risk of harm. So while he has that status, he needs to make the waive under the law that allows him to go to the Court of Appeals. Because you got to get to the higher court to where it is about the laws and the statutes. Because the trial courts is a man sitting up there dictating orders, basing everything on personal opinion and not on law. You know,
Right.
in the trial court is focused on administrative opinion and the
Got you.
discretion of the bench. And the problem is they're given way more discretionary power than they should be allowed to have. So what you need to do is create an argument that allows you to go to the higher level where you get to argue the facts of the law. And that is
Gotcha.
decided by the 100 cases before you that made that same argument. You know, the saying that not all laws are statute, or what is it? Not all statutes are law.
Right. Well, no, not all statutes at all. But I mean, those statutes, we all know that statutes are made for the government employees to follow, not us.
Right, but case law
Yeah.
is always law. The most relevant case law and the most current two filings establish law for
Okay.
that argument.
I'm hearing a lot of background.
I don't know where it's coming from, but hey, Andrea, you know what? Why don't you email us at abolishcps.com@gmail.com, and why don't we get you on the show and we can discuss this?
Yeah, and if you want, throw my number up there. If
I'll
people
throw the
have
Melissa.
questions, they can
Yep.
text me, and I'll take the time to help them get the answers.
There's the Melissa hotline. Guys, we're at our wrap time here. Kenneth, I say, man, I think you focus on this paternity, brother, and then we go from there. But you know what? I'm going to get you on here in another couple of weeks if you're cool with that, and we'll get you back here and let's figure out where you're at and write down Melissa's number here. It's 251-727-0402. And she would definitely, I'm sure, hang with you and through this stuff, bud. She's really good, and I'm sure that she would ride with you on this one.
I'm trying to get
She
her
wants-
now.
Yeah, I put it right up there for you. And Andrea, like I said, hit up abolishcps.com@gmail.com, and we'll get you on the show because let's discuss your case. Let's see where we can get, what we can get up there for that.
Well, and I see that it's Andrea's case is Illinois. You know, there's
Correct.
five good NAN locations in the Illinois area.
Oh, let me put that back up for you, Ken. Sorry.
I got it.
Okay, cool. So another state and put in.
So
Yeah, that's
we
it.
do
Yeah.
have some organizations that can help her and kind of walk her through some stuff.
Oh, see,
Cool.
I have a question for Melissa.
Yeah.
How do I fight a non-existing restraining order?
By requesting the visitation that you're being denied. And then when the judge denies that, you then have to file a motion of reconsideration because you got to always ask him twice. The number 2 is a big deal in legal arguments. It always has to be, to be established, you have to ask twice. So once you get that second denial, you then tell the Court of Appeals to make him behave.
Then I need to go to the Court of Appeals because June
he's just gonna keep being an asshole to you.
Yeah, because in June of 2022, when I got my first attorney, that attorney petitioned to have the no contact lifted. He said no and put it in place again. And in February, when we went back, which was this year, he said no as well.
That's still too long ago. You need to do a new request of visitation And then within 14 days of his denial of that request, you need to file a motion of reconsideration. Okay? And then when that is denied, you file your not intent to appeal, but your notice to appeal.
So, given that I have an attorney, do I?
You need to use your attorney to do that, and if your attorney don't want to do it, file it anyways. Because your attorney works for you. It's up to you whether he sits first seat and you sit second, or you sit first seat and he sits second.
Okay. Because I
have a retained attorney that I use out here a lot, but I still do most of my own filings, and my attorney knows that I will, because who to better know the case than the person living it every day?
Yeah. And see, I have no problem doing that, but I have PTSD from this. I get so anxious when I go to court.
Sure.
I get anxious every time I have to.
It is so bad that just so you understand, Kenneth, they have created a whole new medical diagnosis because of the abuse of CPS and the judicial system of families. It's actually called legal abuse syndrome, and it is a PTSD created by the system's constant abuse of the people.
Yeah, because...
Which I'm still trying to find out if that's currently being recognized by the American Disabilities Act. Because
yeah, it is. It is. Yep.
Form.
Yep. No, they did. They put it up there with. Remember, I was talking about it. That they put it up there with right next to having your kid kidnapped, PTSD, all of that. So.
Well, no, not PTSD, but the actual diagnosis of legal abuse syndrome.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one I don't know. But guys, we got to wrap it up. Melissa, do you got any more questions? Last words for Kenneth?
No. I mean, keep up a good fight. Don't let it get you down, because, you know, God will never give you more than you can handle. Even when you think it's the worst day ever, just know that tomorrow can always be better as long as you grab your sword and you charge and you keep up that fight.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good one. I like that. Herbert, how about you, my man? You got any last words for Kenneth?
Yes. Yes, Kenneth. I'd like you to keep a diary and keep notes of everything. So you have dates, times, and notes.
Oh, I have a timeline. I have a private investigator that's made a whole timeline for me.
All right. Well, you make sure you keep that too. He's absolutely right. Write down everything, my man. Everything.
Every time I interact with someone, I forward her the emails, and I'm like, okay, on this date, this is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and she puts it in my timeline.
Conversations, record them.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they tell you that you ain't allowed to record them anyways. Anyway.
Oh yeah, they haven't talked to.
When you go to court, if you could take your phone in the courtroom, record it.
Yeah, they haven't talked to me since my ex-wife left.
Okay.
Not once.
Oh wow, Jesus Almighty. Yeah, we got to get some things done. You need to.
But you do stay in touch with your wife's parents, right? The in-laws.
I do.
Well, stay in touch with them, because they may be telling you things subliminal. You don't even, they're telling you things without telling you things. You know what I mean?
With that no contact order, if it gets out to the court that he's in contact with them, it will be argued as third-party contact, and that judge can attack him for it. So, with that being said,
what if they're the ones contact? What if they're the ones contacting him?
No contact orders works both ways. Kenneth, you got any last?
Okay, very good.
Kenneth, you got any questions for them before we wrap this up?
I was just gonna reiterate: the no contact does not cover them or the ex-wife. It only prevents me from talking to the child.
Yeah, but the minor child is in their care, so tread carefully, be careful, dot your I's, cross your T's, and record everything.
Oh yeah, I do, but I don't talk to them over the phone because then I can't record it. And the funny thing about it is I'm allowed to have pictures, but nothing else. It's convoluted. Like, I'm allowed to have pictures, and I can buy her stuff and give it to them to give to her, but I can't talk to her.
Well, that's weird.
But you could talk to them.
Yeah, I can talk to them, and
you are allowed to.
Yeah, I'm allowed.
You're allowed to talk to them.
Yep.
And give things to them to give to the child.
And they're allowed to give me pictures.
Wow.
It's very convoluted.
It is. That's very crazy. I get in touch with Melissa, and then we'll get you back on here, Kenneth, in a couple of weeks to see where you're at.
Yeah, sounds good.
That sounds good. All right, cool. All right, guys. Thank you guys very much for tonight. This was a great show. I'm going to restraining orders, man. Restraining orders. Be careful with those. They work in mysterious ways. Judges make them. Don't break them. The last thing you need in any session when you're dealing with your child is to have them away into your life to make sure that you cannot be in your daughters, because they do want to do that. They want to alienate you. They will take that 6 months. They will say that you have abandoned your child, and then that's it. And next thing you know, they have one more reason to TPR you. I'm the CPS Punisher. I'm out of here. Have a good night.